Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the Nutanix NCP-MCI 7.5 certification, specifically Objective 12.9, Disaster Recovery using Multicloud Snapshot Technology, or MST. We're going to get you completely ready to crush this critical exam topic.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with why MSTDR matters, then do a deployment walkthrough. After that, we'll cover instant recovery, dig into those tricky exam traps and edge cases, and finally, wrap up with the key facts you absolutely need to memorize.
All right, Section 1, why MSTDR matters.
So, at its core, what is MST? Basically, it's a feature that completely decouples your recovery points from your primary cluster. It captures snapshots of your virtual machines, your VMs, and your volume groups, or VGs, and ships them directly to external object storage. We're talking AWS S3, Azure Blob, or Google Cloud Storage. Storing them out there means your backups are entirely independent of your source cluster. Why does this matter to you as an admin? Well, if your primary data center literally goes up in smoke, your recovery points are isolated, completely safe, and waiting for you in the cloud.
Now, when you're planning your recovery, you're looking at two primary architectures here, and these dictate whether you'll be sweating through manual restores or sitting back with automated failovers. First up, the zero compute model. Here you have absolutely zero compute resources running in the cloud before disaster strikes. You provision a cluster on demand when things go wrong. But, catch this, that means you have to manually restore your workloads from those object storage snapshots. On the flip side, we have the Pilot Lite configuration. This keeps a minimal cluster pre-provisioned and running continuously. So when disaster hits, it scales out instantly. And the best part is, it supports automated recovery plans. So for the exam, make sure you link zero compute to manual recovery and Pilot Lite to automated recovery.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, MST deployment and walkthrough.
Let's talk about actually deploying MST in a production environment. A huge thing to note for version 7.5, it is now done exclusively through the Nutanix marketplace. Gone are the old days of OSM-based methods, messing with YAML templates or CLI commands. It's way easier now. You just log into Prism Central, open the admin center, click Marketplace, and deploy the app. But watch out for this exam trap. You absolutely must be an administrator to do this. Standard users simply don't have the permissions required to deploy the MST app, so keep that in mind.
Another massive prerequisite you've got to remember is the resource footprint. This MST instance is highly resource-intensive. You're going to need a baseline of at least 76 gigabytes of memory just to run it. You have to ensure you've got adequate host resources available in your cluster before you even attempt to click Deploy in the marketplace.
Now, you absolutely need to memorize these capacity limits for the exam. They love testing this. For a small MST instance, you max out at managing 2,000 entities, holding 75 recovery points per entity, and supporting up to 300 terabytes of live data. But if you step up to the medium instance, that jumps significantly. Up to 5,000 entities, 100 recovery points per entity, and a whopping 1 petabyte of live data. Keep these exact thresholds locked in your brain for test day.
Let's look at how this plays out in a real failover scenario. Listen closely. MST replication is strictly unidirectional. It only flows from your primary cluster straight into your object storage bucket. So imagine you fail over to a recovery site, like a Nutanix Cloud Cluster or NC2. Right away, your running workloads are sitting there completely unprotected. Snapshots are not magically going back to the cloud. You have to manually step in and establish a composite protection rule, or PR. This explicitly schedules that reverse replication back to your object storage.
And you know, the underlying reason for this manual step is actually pretty fascinating. Object storage is just that, storage. It holds static data snapshots. It has absolutely no compute power to run virtual machines. Because of that, the primary replication is strictly a one-way street to the bucket. The Nutanix cluster just can't natively reverse that replication flow without you explicitly telling it to do so. Think about it. If you skip creating that composite PR and your NC2 recovery site goes down, you lose everything because reprotection was never established. Don't fall for that.
Let's jump right into Section 3, Instant Recovery for MST.
Instant recovery is honestly an incredible feature. It allows your VMs and volume groups to be instantly restored and powered on before the full data hydration even finishes. How? It smartly fetches data on demand from your object storage while the rest of the data silently hydrates in the background. Basically, this prioritizes immediate workload availability over getting full disk read performance right out of the gate. It gets your essential services back online instantly.
But wait, pay super close attention here because this is a classic exam trap. Instant recovery, along with support for third-party S3-compatible object stores, was introduced in a very specific release. It requires both Prism Central and AOS to be at version 7.5.1 or later. If you get an exam scenario that says the environment is running version 7.5.0, instant recovery is literally not an option. Don't let them trick you on the versioning.
All right, Section 4, Exam Traps and Edge Cases.
When you're running a pilot-light deployment, you've got a lot of flexibility when failing out to the cloud. Planned, unplanned even, test failovers, they're all fully supported. But here's the catch. When you're ready to fail back, meaning you're doing a cloud to on-premises recovery, only planned failovers are supported. You basically have to assume cloud resilience for that failback operation.
Okay, I want you to mentally highlight these next bullet points, because these exact configuration constraints are perfect multiple-choice distractors. Number 1, MST needs exclusive access to the storage bucket. You cannot share it with other apps or you risk serious data corruption. Number 2, external IPM management, or IPAM, is not supported. You have to use Nutanix managed IPAM. Number 3, MST DR and cluster protect features are mutually exclusive on an NC2 cluster. You got to pick one or the other. And finally, a pilot-light setup allows only a single on-premises cluster as a source.
Now, this is a fundamental rule for multi-site policies. If you have a protection policy where replication is going to both an MST instance in the cloud and another physical on-prem cluster, the combined maximum limits are always dictated by the lower threshold between those two configurations. You don't add the capacities together, and the bigger environment definitely doesn't win out. The lowest limit sets the ceiling for the entire policy.
And it goes even further. To account for the overhead of that multi-site replication topology, the maximum supported number of protected entities in that policy is divided exactly by 3. So if a test question asks for the maximum protected entities in a multi-site scenario, remember your steps, find the lowest limit, and divide it by 3.
Okay, let's bring it all home with Section 5, Key Facts to Memorize.
Take a mental picture of these constraints right now, because synthesizing this information is exactly how you're going to earn passing points. First, MST deployment requires 76 gigabytes of memory and admin rights in the marketplace. Second, zero compute means manual recovery, while Pilot-Lite enables automated recovery plans. Third, you absolutely must manually create a composite PR for reverse replication after a failover. Fourth, instant recovery requires version 7.5.1 or higher. And lastly, multi-site policies are strictly bound by the lower maximum limit of the two distinct configurations.
I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought to really test your understanding. Imagine you fail over to an NC2 cluster, but you completely forget to create that composite PR. How severe is your penalty going to be when you finally try to fail back to your on-premises data center? Well, because you failed to establish ongoing snapshot replication, your system has no choice but to perform a full, massive network data sync over the wire. This results in horrific recovery time objectives that could take your essential services offline for days. So always, always secure your reverse replication. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep these facts fresh, and you are going to absolutely crush Objective 12.9 on the exam.